YouTube. So yesterday I posted my first video about a channel that I wanted to start talking about my cancer journey, and I got a lot of positive feedback last night and then this morning and throughout the day, outside of just my friends and family, so that was pretty cool. I did want to make a second video last night, but like I said, I was sick and today was my first day back to work, and I was at work all day. My brain was just like buzzing with all these things that I wanted to talk about. But I also needed to reel in my thought process and kind of do some bullet points of each video. Like I said, this kind of started off with my seeing this one documentary that's going to come out and kind of prompting me to start my own channel. So I'm going to bounce off that documentary later, but in the meantime, I am going to start talking about my own personal journey and why I feel so passionate about talking about this documentary and other documentaries that I've heard besides this one coming out about people that are faking cancer or faking any other kind of life-threatening diseases, and why it's so hurtful to the community of people like myself that went through this, and I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. So with this, the first video I made, I would consider like a pre-introductory video. So this is going to be my first, I guess, introductory video. Sorry, it's been a long day. I'm tired. I got my tea. I'm trying to stay awake. So other than my friends and family, they know my backstory of my cancer diagnosis. So I guess this video, I just wanted to kind of dive into my diagnosis, the definition of the cancer that I had, who I was pre my cancer, and how I just started to go along this path. So I did some bullet notes because it was brought to my attention that I was kind of scatterbrained all over the place, and I did tell you guys that I am scatterbrained. That's just how I think, and then it just comes out like word vomit, and it's all over the place. So yeah, here we go. I was 27 years old when I was diagnosed. I had been living in Northern California for 3 years. I was getting ready to move into an apartment with a partner from my past. It was a beautiful apartment in a beautiful city in California. We were kind of starting over with the promotion that he had gotten with his job, and I was excited. I was like, this is like, I feel like my first time that I'm living away from my family, where it's not like college dorms or, friend roommates. It was my first time living with a partner, and we had only been in the apartment for a couple of weeks before I was starting to feel weird. I had noticed that I had been gaining a lot of weight. My weight has fluctuated throughout my life for different reasons. I was very active in high school with sports and dance when I was younger, and then college I did a little bit of sports, but it was just, all over the place. And then this was like, I think, the first time where I really looked in the mirror and I was like, wow, why am I gaining so much weight? Like I'm the heaviest I feel like I've ever been in my life. Like I was active in the gym. I met my ex-partner at that same gym that I started getting involved in. And I don't know, I mean, I, paid attention to my weight, but, so we had been in this apartment for a couple of weeks, and I wanted to get back into working out because I was unhappy with the state of my body. And I only did, I think, 2 days worth of workouts, and it was very, very difficult for me. Like I had, like I said, gone back and forth with being in the gym, being active, non-active, but this just felt particularly hard. And I was like, I don't know, I remember thinking, this doesn't feel normal. Why this is so hard for me? And then I think 2 days later, I woke up in the middle of the night with a very sharp pain in my left side, in the middle of the night. And it was a very sharp, stabbing pain that started at the bottom of my left hip, like above my left hip. And I was trying to just let it go. Like, I've had stomach issues all my life. I was like, oh, maybe it's just like gas buildup, or it's like heartburn. It's a muscle pain. Like, I just started working out, and it wasn't. It got so extreme that I woke him up in the middle of the night, and I was like, hey, we need to go to the ER. And it was very scary because we had just moved into this new apartment and this new area, and it was the first time that I was away from my family in a new state. I'd only been living in California for a couple of years, and I was scared. I remember feeling very scared. I'm like, what is this? Like, and it was a pain that started lower and it started creeping its way up my back. So when it was starting to move, I was like, this is not normal. I need to go to the hospital. This is more than just like a muscle strain, more than just a weightlifting pain. And I remember being put into a waiting room. I think it was, God, it's been years, San Ramon Medical Center. That's where we lived. And I was in excruciating pain. And the nurse came in the room and she said, we're hearing how much pain you're in, and we're going to give you a shot of pain medication. It's called Dilaudid. Remember that name, because I am going to get into a whole big thing about that pain medication. Dilaudid was very, very involved in my cancer journey during it and post. And the first time I ever had it was at this ER with how much pain I was in, and the doctor prescribed it, and I felt better immediately. But they did some blood work, and the blood work came back abnormal, so they decided to keep me. I think it was a day or two, and I don't remember what we thought it was at the time. Like I said, I have to go back and do so much more of my history. I just wanted to start this video with kind of giving you a little bit of my background of how I got diagnosed, and this pain in my side was the beginning of it. When we got the results back, they said that my spleen was enlarged. I had never had any issues like this before. Like, the most I think I ever had at the time was cold, flu. I don't know, never really had an issue with any of my organs. Before I moved to California, I was up to date with all of my primary care doctors, all up to date with my blood work, never had any issues. I do think that when we moved, my blood work and primary health care kind of fell to the wayside because, I don't know, I just didn't stay on top of it. So yeah, my spleen was enlarged. They did some blood work. I stayed there overnight, 2 nights. I said I have to dive back into this. I was released from the hospital with some pain meds and a follow-up, and then the follow-up wasn't exactly what I anticipated. So man, I said this is going to be a short video. It's impossible with me. I can't do short videos. I think it was 2 days later. I was recovering at home from the hospital visit, and I got a phone call. My partner at the time had gone to work. His job was like 10 minutes down the street, so I think he had just left like a half hour ago. And I remember being in this beautiful apartment and high ceilings. We were the top floor, this beautiful bedroom that I had like a whole wall of mirrored closets, and I had so many ideas in my head of how I wanted to decorate this apartment. And like, I was so excited, you know, for my first adult space. Like, it wasn't like college and whatever. I know I've already touched on this, but I got that phone call. I don't remember who I spoke to. It was just, I don't know if it was somebody from the hospital. I don't remember if it was somebody from the Vallejo Outpatient Cancer Center. I don't know who it was I spoke to, but I remember it being very early in the morning, and the person on the other side of the line said, you know, we got the results back from your blood work, and there were some, you know, some inconsistencies. There was some things that kind of raised some alerts with us, and I don't remember the percentage, but they said you have X amount of percentage of cells in your body that are abnormal. And I remember asking, what does that mean? You know, they originally told me at the hospital, like, oh, you might have anemia, like you have some, you know, some medical history on both parent sides with cancer and, you know, whatever, but like no blood cancer, no blood diseases, no issues. And they said, you know, you're sorry. You had elevated levels of cells that would indicate leukemia. And I said, what does that mean? Do I have it? And they're like, no, we're not sure. We're just bringing to your attention that you have elevated levels of this. And then somebody else got on the phone and they were trying to explain more to me, and they said, no, you have leukemia. And I remember feeling so pissed off in that moment that I was like, these were the first words out of my mouth. I think I told my parents, I think I told my sister, I might have told my partner, my ex-partner. I was just like, they just told me over the phone that I have leukemia. And I was pissed. I was like, you just told me that I have leukemia. And they said, yeah, we have to schedule an appointment with you to come to our Vallejo office and to speak with a specialist. But you have X amount of cells that are positive for leukemia. And I fell to my knees in the beautiful master bedroom, and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I was like, I'm home alone. My my boyfriend just went to work. Like, I'm by myself. Like, I was in the hospital because I had a pain in my side, and now a pain in my side you're telling me means I have leukemia. And, yeah. I think that was the most alone I've ever felt in my entire life. But the weird thing with that phone call was, like, the way that they explained it was like, you are testing positive for this, but we're still not sure if it's this. And then I remember finally calling my parents, and like my mom trying to talk me off the ledge, being like, no, you're not sure. Like, they didn't really give you like a positive, like an answer. And then, I don't know if it was that same day or the next day, but we went to that center in Vallejo, and we got brought into a room, and the doctor came in. Like, before all this happened, like, I was just like, no, they're not sure. They're not sure. Like, I'm like going like this, walking around the room. I'm like, they didn't give me the positive answers, and everybody around me was like, no, they didn't definitely say that you have leukemia. It's just like, it's all over the place with your results, and they're just telling you this. And then I got brought into that room with a doctor. I don't remember what he looked like or what his name was. And then I remember this for some reason, he had an intern with him, like a woman that was training to, I don't know if she's a doctor or an NP or whatever she was, but I remember him finally saying, no, this wasn't preliminary, this isn't like a maybe, you do have leukemia. And I fell to my knees again, and I started screaming and crying hysterically. And I said, why? He said, why is this happening to me? I'm only 27 years old. I haven't even lived yet. And I was screaming and crying and screaming and crying, and noises were coming out of me that I didn't even know I was capable of making. At 27, all my other friends were moving into serious relationships and marriage and having kids and buying houses, and I was falling to my knees in another state, thousands of miles away from my home state, finding out that I am sick. And I was very sick. These videos are not going to go the way that I want them to, with bullet points and sticking to a script, because that's not who I am. This video is going to be longer than yesterday's. It's how I storytell. This is, if I ever tried to write a book, it would take years for a publisher to edit it. I don't know how to explain things without so much more words and feelings and emphasis on things. But yeah, so that's my one bullet point down. I explained my diagnosis. I found out at a random center. I don't know how I got pushed to that center. I don't remember how I got pushed to UC Davis, but after I found out, I remember the first thing my mom said to me was, you're going to beat this. She's like, just calm down, you're going to beat this. And I remember that was the worst moment of my life. And I remember looking over at my mother, and my mother wears her emotions on her face, and I do too. So like, it was weird, because I remember looking at my mom in that moment, and she wasn't having a breakdown like I was. I think she had it later that day, behind closed doors, away from me. But in that moment, she was a solid rock, because she looked at me and she said, you're gonna beat this. And I remember looking at her, I'm like, why aren't you hysterically crying? Like, I know you. Like, I know how emotional you are. And she was very, very composed in that moment. And I don't think I ever talked to her about this. Hi, Mom, because I know you're going to watch this, but I was so impressed with my mom in that moment. Because if you know my mother, my friends and family that are watching this, you know how emotional she is and how she rages with every emotion she has, and she puts it in your face. And whether you want it to be put in your face, she's going to put it there anyway, because she wears her emotions and her heart on her sleeve, because she loves so big and so widely that it's it's in your face. My mom has always been in your face, and when I was growing up, it was a pain in the ass, but now I wouldn't have it any other way with how she expresses herself. And I was so impressed with you, Mom, that day, because you held it together while your youngest was on her knees for the second time in 2 days, screaming at the universe and screaming at God and screaming at everything else and wondering why it was me. Why? I was only 27. What the hell did I do to deserve this? And she, picked me up in that moment. The rest of my family picked me up in that moment. My partner at the time picked me up in that moment, and everybody said, "You're going to beat this. You're going to get through it." But I think what I remember most that day is that I felt a surge of hope. Knowing that I was going to beat it. Damn, I have so many more bullet points that I wanted to get to. Is this going to be a very long series? I'm so sorry. This is supposed to be like the non-rattle on one, and I'm like damn near past my points. So I am going to wrap it up here. It's kind of like how my diagnosis was, and like the days before that was just chaos and like words and family and feelings and confusion and everything. So it just kind of works with how long this video has been and how chaotic it has been. But I do want to start getting into the next chapter. I guess we're gonna call this an audiobook, maybe. Like, this is the chapters of the story that I wanted to write down, and I can't do it because, like I said, my brain's all over the place. So maybe speaking is better than writing it down. But the next video I want to talk about is how I got into UC Davis and how I met the wonderful hospital staff that would save my life. And yeah, sorry that I prattled on again. Just my personality. If you're my friend or my family, I talk too much. This has been a thing since I was a kid, so yeah. Cutting off at this point. We hit 23 minutes, so this is 10 minutes past my old one. So I didn't do anything what I said with my goal, where I wanted to like keep this shortened. Congratulations, Britt, you did 10 minutes more. So yeah, I'm gonna stop now, and then maybe I'll do another one tonight, maybe not. I don't know if I have the energy to keep going, because I'm kind of anxiety ridden right now with recounting this, but I knew that was gonna be a thing with this. Is a very traumatic experience to revisit, so sorry, it's double what it was last time. All right, thanks, YouTube.